talented speakers in our short history. We actually hit a decade this year of EUROUT, so we're 10 years old. Cam and I are a little bit older than that, not much. And a couple of highlights. So we've got one of our keynotes who will be coming on stage right after us, Julio Bruno. Amber Hikes will be kicking off our keynote tomorrow morning. And then we've got amazing, very interesting panels, such as our Minds Alive, which is a faculty-focused research panel, which will be held tomorrow morning, and our Queer Privileges panel, which will be held later today.
Yep. Of course, none of this would be possible at all without the generous and consistent support of our incredible corporate sponsors and partners who have been on board with our vision from this year from the very start, without whom there would be no EUROUT, quite frankly. At this point, we'd love to quickly shout out to our lead sponsor, BCG, our platinum sponsor, Strategy and our diamond sponsor, Salesforce, as well as all of our gold, silver, and scholar partners for this year. I'd also just like to say as well that none of this would be possible without our breathtakingly talented, super committed, ambitious, intelligent, handsome human beings that are our Out in Business committee. And I just love if you all stand up right now, all of you incredible humans.
Could everyone from Out in Business Exco stand up? Big round of applause for these people.
The tireless work and dedication and commitment of these incredible humans is what will make this weekend something that hopefully all of you will remember.
And now we have the honor of setting the stage for our first keynote speaker, Julio Bruno. Among other things, Julio is the founder and CEO of BR1 Creative, chairman of Mercado Metropolitano, former CEO of Time Out Group, and held senior roles at TripAdvisor, Travelport, Regis, and Diageo, among others, in addition to countless business accolades which he's collected over the years, including but not limited to being awarded the title of Business Leader of the Year by Campaign UK. He has been a dedicated advocate and champion for diversity, equity, and inclusion for many years. Julio was named in 2021 the Heroes Executive Advocate on the list celebrating the top 35 global leaders who are championing and advocating for women in the workplace, which we love to see. Top 50 Empower Advocate Executive list in 2021, and was on the top, which is a list championing and advocating for ethnic minorities, and of course was featured in 2021 on the top 100 outstanding LGBTQ+ role model global list.
Please join us in welcoming Julio to the stage. To EUROUT 2022.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Thank you. No, I think I have that. Well, thank you. Hello, everybody. Happy 10th anniversary, by the way. 10 years. You look so young at 10 years. Well, it's an honor to be here. I thank you, EUROUT and London Business School, for inviting me here today. It's not easy to open a conference with so many intelligent people here, and I thank you for coming on a Friday morning. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I hear some of you were out last night. Okay. I just arrived from Madrid last night, actually. I live here in London, but I was in Madrid. So today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the world of leadership and within the context of EUROUT. One of the things that I imagine you are all here is because you are thinking about your career, your future. Some of you have been working for years and came to London Business School to learn new skills, to become a better leader, to become, or even finding who you want to be and what you want to do. And in this kind of journey that now you have started with LBS and other universities, because I understand there are people from other universities, you're going to be thinking, who am I? What do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Because one of the things that happen in our lives is that sometimes we let ourselves go without a plan. We think, okay, if I go to good school and then I do a postgrad, and then maybe I go into consulting, and then I become a CFO, and then suddenly, the company needs help, and I become the CEO. That happens. And maybe it's great, but is that what you wanted to do? Have you stopped and think who you want to be in life? And that's something that I have said in a book that I wrote, and I said plan, plan, and plan again, and that has helped me in my life to get to where I am. But I still haven't arrived, because this is a journey. And as the great poet from Spain, Antonio Machado, said, You make your own journey as you walk, but you really never get there. But I tell you why. What? If you don't know where you're going, I can guarantee you, you don't know if you have arrived, right? If you just go with the flow, you may get a great career, a great life, but is that what you wanted? And that's what I said, plan. You are now at a time in your careers, in your life, that it is the beginning of who you're going to be soon. And then as you plan, and you imagine who you want to be, you imagine what you want to do in life, then from time to time you stop and say, oh, is this still what I want to do? Do I still want to be the CFO of a company? Do I want to be an entrepreneur? Is that what I really like? Or I thought that I had to do that because, I don't know, peer pressure. They asked me, well, you know, I have to be an entrepreneur. Today, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Obviously, we all want to be billionaires, right? But do we? Have we thought about it? Maybe you do. But what I would ask you is, think about who you want to be in life, and then plan to get there. You are not planning even if you don't know. You are planning your career because you are here in other universities studying to become who? Become the better versions of yourselves. That's what we study in life. That's what we do things, to become a better version of who we are. And you know, in your career, if you want to be the better version of yourself, you have to challenge yourself. You are challenging yourself here by studying. You challenge yourself by going to another country, learning another culture, changing a job. What I have seen in life is many people have this idea of, I have to do this and then this and then this because that's what I saw other people doing. And I think they are happy because I see their Instagram with wonderful photographs. So I want to be like them, right? And I think they did that, so I'm going to copy that. And if I copy that, I will be happy and successful. And this is, in my opinion, in my experience, and I have a little bit more gray hair than you, a mistake. Because we are all different, right? You know, if you're a salmon or a trout, and you're in the river, you know you have to go up that flow because you have to go to the beginning of that river and then put your eggs and die because that's your life, right? But you go there. So imagine you're that salmon that said, oh my God, that's so boring. I'm going to stay here, you know, swimming with the flow, not against the flow, against the current. No, I'm going to be with the current, and I'm going to have a good life here, and I'm going to stay down, and I'm going to, obviously, I'm not going to procreate. I'm not going to do what I'm supposed to do. Probably, I'm not going to have a very fulfilling life. You know, we have to challenge ourselves and not go with the flow of other people's and other people's life because that would be a mistake. You need to spend the time to think who you want to be. What is going to make you happy? And by the way, fail, of course. Failure is one of the best things you can do in your career. We are in Europe, and here in Europe, like, failure is not very, very, you know, like, people look at that and say, oh my God, she failed, he failed, they failed. In America, in the USA, failure is almost, you know, part of your curriculum vitae, your resume, because that means that you tried. And you tried, and maybe you made a mistake, or maybe it wasn't the right time for you, for your career, for your maybe new company. Don't be afraid of change, and don't be afraid of fighting. Merit will take you there. Merit. Yeah, luck sometimes plays some part, but I don't believe in luck. I believe in you make your own luck. You have to help it. And much better if you help luck with a plan. So at least you know, again, that you are going in the right direction. We are here in EUROUT, and I'm thinking, you know, in my own career, what does it mean to be yourself in all the middle of all this while you're looking for your career? And I like to say that, you have to be whoever you want to be, your full self. Look around you. People from all over the world, different ethnicities, different creeds, different sexual orientation. This is the world. This is the reality. But so many people today are trying to have this debate of gender and victimization and culture and all that, that we are lost in the cacophony of this noise that we don't know who we are. One of the things that I have been learning, and still learning in my life, is to be myself and not letting being myself be my only purpose, right? Meaning, I knew I wanted to be a leader of an organization, and I planned my life to be that. And I've been in many different organizations, but always trying to change my transferable skills from one company to another, from one position to another, from one country to another. And at some point I realized that I was like in automatic pilot, right? Doing this because I was very clear that I also had a plan, so I was doing that. And I was forgetting who I was as well. And I started noticing around me that some other people didn't have the same rights as I could have, or the same opportunities that I had. And I started thinking about how can I help in this society where there are so many injustices, minorities that are not being listened to. And that made me think about, if I am who I am, and I never have used who I am as a gay man, my sexuality to get anything, but maybe I should be speaking up and saying, this is who I am, and I have made it to here or there or this company, not because of that, and not despite of this. It's just what it is, being a normal person, because all of us are normal. There are 8 billion people, as if this week, by the way, we are 8 billion people now in the world, and we are 8 billion people of unique people. 8 billion different personalities, 8 billion different people. But you know what? We are also the same, because we want the same. We want the same. We want happiness. We want the best for our family. We want to live in peace and harmony. It's not easy, right? But if 8 billion people are all the same, and then we have this victimization that a lot of other people are using, we are losing ourselves in this world of victimization that I will say to you, please don't get into it. One thing is being aware of who you are and helping the people around you and being an activist and being vocal against injustice. And another very different thing is to use that as your only flag, right? The world is against me. Somebody else is guilty, not me. Victimization is not something that I will suggest you do, and we'll talk more a little bit about later. But anyway, be whoever you want to be is important. And why is that important? Diverse companies are better companies. Easy, right? Diverse companies are better companies because the world is diverse. So if you want to work in society, you have to reflect society. And society is not more, only one color, only one race, only one whatever. Diverse companies are better companies, and it's up to all of you when you create your own companies, when you work as leaders in different companies, to make sure that your company, your team, reflects society. It's very good to say, oh no, I want the best people. Yeah, I want the best people too. But the best people cannot be only people like me. That's the easy thing, right? Or the people around me, people that I know, people I go to school with. Let's try to go past that. diverse companies make much better companies, and take it from me, I've done it in many companies, and I have always created very diverse teams by doing things like, blind recruitment. You know what that is? I'm surprised sometimes in a country like Spain, my own country, people put their photograph in their resumes, in their CVs. That's like a requirement. I think that's crazy, right? No. Know who am I by my merits. Just read my merits, my studies, what I've been doing, and then we'll see when I see you. Because, we are terrible at sometimes. I mean, we think that people like us are going to be better people for us because it's easier. We don't want to make an effort. That's not me. Somebody's having, that's right. Don't worry. So anyway, as I said, that better companies are diverse companies because reflect society. And I was talking before about don't be a victim. Don't play that card. Be aware of injustices around you. But make sure that you don't subtract, that you're always adding. How do you add in a company? Well, I said before, hire and work in companies that represent your values. Today, millennials and Zoomers, a lot of you here, Gen Z, Zoomers, want to wear the badge of the company on their arm, yeah? It's like, I belong to that company that does this and that, and it has, a sustainable company, etc. And we are looking at companies, younger generations than mine are looking at companies that represent themselves, right? Like, I feel good with this company. I feel good with the values, the ethical values of this company. So imagine when you have your own company, if you don't have it already, how you're going to make sure that the values that you have as a person are reflected in your company or in your team, the companies you work for. Very important to remember that you, as a person, have values, and why would you go and work for a company that doesn't have your values? That's silly, right? But in my generation, we never thought about it really much. You like a company, and maybe that was work, and then you go home and you forgot about it. But today, working from home with all the technology, what is the divide between work and home, right? It's so difficult. You're with your children maybe, and you're writing an email at 8 p.m. on a Friday, or on a Saturday morning, you're answering emails that you couldn't do on Friday working from home, or whatever. So clearly that divide is gone. It's gone. And we're going to see a future where, offices are no longer what they are, and I know that Elon Musk is saying, everybody back to Twitter, and they are all saying, yeah, thank you. Anyway, I had to talk about Elon Musk, right? But you're going to be in companies that are going to be very different to the companies that I grew up with. Very different. And for the first time in history, or in modern history, these companies are spending a lot of time and effort in making sure that they have values, that they have DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion pages and teams, and to give more opportunities to people. This is going to happen more and more. And none of you are going to be working in companies that are not like this, because you're not going to be able to. You're going to feel like, what am I doing here, right? It's not going to be something and that will change the way we operate. I was talking before, what it means in a company or in life to be a leader. And you have heard this representation matters, right? You represent, you see other people that are like you. You probably have a role model. When I was growing up, I didn't have role models like me. I thought I was the only one, right? And how things have changed. And I'm still quite young, believe me. But when I was growing up, I didn't have any role model. I didn't know anybody LGBT out there. above all in the business world. So I probably thought that I couldn't get there. That's why today has changed so much, that representing and advocating is important as well. Because you know how many of us, at some point in our lives, don't feel that we can be ourselves. And we don't want to have a confrontation, we don't want to fight with somebody, and we sometimes don't say, you know, I spent most of my career never talking about myself. I didn't say one thing or another. My family knew who I was, my friends too. But at work, I never said anything. My life was my life, and I thought, who cares? You know, it's my life. I don't ask you about you, don't ask me about mine. But clearly that meant that I left part of me outside the workplace. And maybe, as I said 25 years ago, that was okay because life and work was so separate. But today it's not. As I said, the companies of the future, you are part of that company, you represent that company, and there is no divide. So you cannot leave who you are, who you truly are inside, outside. You cannot leave that at the door. So it's very important to be who you are at all times. Don't make a flag of it. Representation doesn't mean that you have to be there on your face, you know, like, hey, I'm gay, so what? You know, that's not my advice. Obviously, other people may see differently. But be who you are, and working through life through merit, with ethical values, trust me, it works. Trust me, being yourself, it works. And being the best version of yourself is what has helped in my life to be where I am, wherever I am. Sometimes I don't know where I am. So, as I said, representation matters, but don't make it your only flag. Remember who you are, your values, your experiences, what you bring to that company, what you bring to life. Because at the end, life, as I said, life and company work are very much one and the same. So if I'm going to spend time with people, I prefer to spend time with people that I like, and that they like me, right? And that they respect me. And I respect them. Because why would I want to work with assholes, right? No asshole policy. That's a very good policy, trust me. It works, huh? Finally, I wanted to talk to you about debate. Debate. We are in a university. I'm sure you have been reading for years how many universities are not letting certain people go and talk, and people go there and complain, I don't want to have this extremist coming to the university to talk, they're filth, I don't want that one, I don't want that one, I don't want that one. Whoa, guys, debate. We need to listen to everyone, and here we are in EUROUT. Most of us, if not all of us, have been discriminated at some point. Shouldn't we be more attuned to it? And say, no, I want to hear everybody. I want to hear even the person that doesn't agree. I don't know what that means, doesn't agree with who I am. Well, I don't need your agreement, but okay, let me listen to you. Debate in society today is dying. It's terrible. Look at the state of politics in the world. Look at this country. Look at America. It's crazy. Tribalism is killing us as a society. If we are all the same and unique at the same time, why wouldn't I not listen to you and to you and to you? Why not? Even if you feel something that I said, oh my God, that's crazy. How can you think that way? Well, I don't know, because we have different backgrounds, different IQs, different experiences. And it's the most difficult thing to do, to listen to somebody that is fundamental, the opposite of you, right? How difficult that is. So now imagine if we want to be, as human beings, respected, and we want to be listened to, do we listen to others as well? Or if politicians, in the politics of they are so extreme, they are terrible, I'm in the right, they are in the wrong, I don't have to listen to it. Actually, the opposite should be true. Listen to them because that's the only way first that you know what they think, why they think that way, and some of the problems of the world we have today will be avoided if we have debate in society. At the end, what I feel is like we are like in a primary school garden, you know, in the fighting there with 10-year-olds, that I am with my tribe and only my tribe, and that tribe and that tribe and that tribe are not mine. I'm going to fight them. I'm going to fight them to death because they are the opposite of me. And obviously, we have now politicians that don't make politics, that they don't do things for us. You probably have heard in the USA, to give an example, now how the Republican Party, with the minority or the majority that they have in Congress, are going to use it to pay back. Pay back, and they say it, pay back. In the meantime, the population doesn't get, you know, don't think about the crisis, cost of living crisis or the energy crisis. No, it's more important that I set the record straight because I am right and you are wrong. Debate. You are in a university because you are growing as human beings, you are learning, you want to learn more. And the more you learn, the more you will realize you know nothing. You heard that one before, right? I'm not going to say it in Latin because I will say terrible. But it's true. If you are humble enough to know that that person may have a different answer to you because there are different circumstances, and you are not able to accept that, then you are losing out in life. And finally, let me get you with another thought. You probably, that's a poet that I love, Rudyard Kipling, did the famous poem, If. And in If, there is something about triumph and disaster, being two impostors, that you have to treat the same way. Triumph and disaster are things that are outside of you. What I may believe is success for me, you may believe that is not. What I believe is a failure, as I said at the beginning, you may think that was a great opportunity and you were at the wrong time, but you learned so much valuable information. Triumph and disaster. Don't be desperate to be that image of the influencer that is going to be wonderful and a wonderful life. It's all fake. Do you think I'm going to put a photo of me when I don't look good? Right? Well, that I don't feel I look good. Of course not. Not this, not this, not this, not this, Photoshop. Please let's be, adults that we are. I know all of you are here adults and intelligent people. Treat triumph and disaster as something that is external and that is transient, and that don't forget that at the end it's you in that journey that I said at the beginning, making that journey that changes as your life changes, But you're still in that journey for the rest of your life. Don't let external things like triumph and disaster make you feel less about yourself. Thank you. Now I'm going to open to questions and answers. Thank you very much.
So folks, from Zoom, you could ask questions. I'll ask on your behalf, and anyone who in the audience want to ask questions, I'll pass the mic on.
Don't be shy.
First of all, thank you very much for the speech. It's really inspiring to hear LGBTQ+ leadership across the variety of sectors in your career. One of the questions I had was, in terms of identifying those mentors who are going to help you navigate this process, do you have any advice for us in how we cultivate those types of individuals and how we identify those who will be able to properly advise us on these types of opportunities?
Yeah, it's a very good question. As I said at the beginning, I didn't have any mentors directly like me, but I did find other mentors in my life. I was lucky enough that I identified people that I wanted to be like them. Now, at my time, it was very difficult because there was no internet. Yes, I'm that old. A little bit before that, but in a couple of years was internet, okay? Or at least internet as we know it today. But today is much easier. In my own LinkedIn, I received people who said, I want to talk to you about this or that. Could we chat? Could we have a Zoom? So identifying mentors, what I would say is, first you can do it from the outside. Like, I had people that I like what they were saying, or I hear speech, or I read a book, and then in my time I would think what he or she would do in these circumstances. And I started projecting myself on what that person, if I didn't know the person, what that person could be. But today it's much easier to go and research. You could DM somebody in your Instagram, slide into her DMs, It happens. And if you have a good approach, a person that you think is gonna be giving you some advice, then I don't think it's that difficult today. But I will say something to you. Don't go for the glamorous, for the, oh my God, I want to be, pals with Tim Cook, CEO of Apple. Yeah, he's gonna probably listen to me. Difficult, right? People are busy. Think about people who are gonna challenge you in something that you may not have. At some point in your career, you're gonna be lost. You don't know where to go next. Maybe your plan wasn't very clear. Maybe you are changing your plan. So what I would do is say, at this moment in time, I need this expertise. Let me go and find it through, first, my network. The good thing, universities, great network, right? Great network. And doesn't need to be necessarily a person that is older who has made it. It could be a colleague of yours, somebody who has skills that are different to yours, that you admire, or that you want to imitate, and maybe it's good to go out and talk and challenge and have debate groups. Have debate groups and challenge other people. I learn a lot from people, intelligent people from all over the world that were challenging me. And having those debates is always fantastic. Don't shy away from debate, as I said. And just look for the people that are gonna make you the better version of you. Thank you. We have a shy audience today.
It's Friday morning. They all went out last night.
No, I know, they told me. Okay, so we have one question.
You mentioned extremist people and how important it is to hear what they say, also to know how to debate them and how to raise counter voices. But where do you draw the line in listening to extremist people and their thoughts?
And that's a good debate. Where do you draw the line in listening to everybody? Clearly, one thing I don't want to do is waste my time, right? So if that debate is not gonna go anywhere and I don't need it, then probably I will walk away, right? But it's a different, what I was referring to is when, and I put the example of universities, not letting certain people talk because of their political extremist views. And I think that that's a mistake, because we need to be human beings that are able to have an argument. And you know what, the best way to grow as one person is to have arguments with people that don't think like you. So the line to me will be drawn if it's obviously violence, if there is, any kind of form of abuse. That's where I will draw the line. I don't want to be receiving abuse or somebody abusing me just because I am who I am. But listen to what they say without even verbal abuse, then yes, I will put that line there. So obviously anything that is harmful or abusive, I will not tolerate, then I prefer to walk away. But what I don't like is what I see in many places where debate is being killed, because sameness and oneness is not who we are. We are talking about diversity and inclusion. That means that you're including people who are not like you. In diversity, you are including people, and it's not only race or gender or sexual orientation or creed or national origin. There are many other things. People who think exactly the opposite as you, politically or socially, that's very important. And that's what I think is being missed these days in society. It makes us stronger in life. This thing about we are all the same and we're going to go in the same direction and we are all good and nice, and no. Reality is that there are not nice people sometimes. There are a lot of assholes out there. But if you never encounter one because you have been shielded from it, because you never had a debate with anybody who thought different than you, how does prepare you in life? Forget about work, in life. If I don't have any tools to discuss, to argue with other people a different point of view, and agree to disagree, then who are you? And by the way, wouldn't your life be much poorer for it? You know, I want to enrich my life. I want to know from everywhere. You know, I'm interested in everything, right? And that has helped me. Curiosity is fantastic. So break that. You know, curiosity brings also imagination. Imagination and creativity are fundamental in society today and fundamental in work. You know, entrepreneurs, you could be an entrepreneur without having your own company. In your life, in your team, creativity is very important, and you are not going to have creativity if everybody says yes to you or say the same as you. So draw the line on anything that is violent, abusive, hateful. But there are some hateful ideas that presented in the right way I want to listen to. I'm going to be, shocked? Are you going to be shocked by somebody saying something today? I hope not. You're intelligent students here. Come on. You're not going to be shocked by assholes, but you want to have the tools to debate them. And at the end, you probably maybe not convince them, but what it will do for you is you're going to be stronger in your own beliefs, in your own ethical beliefs, because you had that debate. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for your speech. It was really great. So I had a question about, I know you've worked for a lot of different travel companies in the past and are a founder for them. In my career, I had a really wonderful senior manager once who was gay and was really an inspiration to me, but we were working for a client in the Midwest and it was a little bit more reserved, and I could definitely tell that he was not so obvious about being gay, and I think in a way it was to protect himself in his career. But I'm wondering if you found throughout your career, if you found it easier to be your authentic self and kind of bring yourself to some of these companies without having to kind of hide it anymore.
Yeah.
And if that's been a transition through the years that you felt.
Very
And
good
also
point.
if there's been companies that have been more accepting or less accepting and how you've kind of handled that.
That's true. Actually, in the Midwest, when I was living in Chicago, I had no problem. Yeah. I am American as well. I have a dual nationality. But I was living in Chicago, and actually there in the company, I was completely out, and that was great. And it was a very young company. It was a startup. But other times in my career, as I said at the beginning, I didn't. Because I thought, and probably I was right, that it would hurt my career. That my merits will not be seen because people are so stupid that they will stay there. Oh, he's gay. No one of us, we want to play golf. He probably doesn't. Just so you know, I'm a paratrooper. I was in the military. I was in the special forces. But I don't go to a company and say, oh, I was a special forces guy. I also didn't go and say, hey, I'm a gay guy. It's kind of, there are times that I felt that I couldn't be myself. And with years and time, I realized, oh, why should I? I should have, maybe. But then maybe not, because my family knew who I was and my friends knew who I was. And it wasn't the same as today. And I don't want to be nostalgic here and look old. And I'm not a boomer. I'm Gen X. But today, you have no excuse. Today, if you cannot be yourself, why are you going to be in that company? Really. Walk away. Walk away. Go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. Never compromise who you are. Because I can tell you one thing, that in some places, when somebody says something they shouldn't have, yes, then I went, sorry, that joke. But not only about me. when they were talking about women, when they thought I was one of them, right? One of these hetero guys who, and they were saying something stupid. I would have stopped because I felt bad. You know, my values, my principles, if you know who you are, then be it, right? But going back to your question, I see more and more companies today that people are who they are in the main, but that cannot be the only thing that defines them. You know, the fact that I'm gay doesn't mean that we're going to be pals because you're also gay, and we're going to go out Soho to have a drink. No, right? We could be friends, we could be not, like with any other person. The fact that you are part of the LGBT plus community doesn't mean that automatically you are going to be the best of friends, right? Because if not, I'm going to do exactly what I was told you not to do. Hire people just like yourself. So let's going to have a people just of LGBT people. You know, well, if that is your company because for something, fine. But diversity means also from the other side. You know, we also have to be diverse in what we bring into our lives, right? So it's difficult to go back into your career and think, oh, maybe I should have, would have, could have. You know, to be honest, today, we are in EUROUT, right? This is going to be part of your career. Congratulations, by the way, to all the people who organized this in the 10th year. Don't you feel better being yourselves all the time, right? Don't we go to cities to become ourselves and be who we are and find other people like ourselves that will accept us? So if you have a boss like that you feel there is something not said, then say it. You are the one who dropped it in the conversation. At least you said it. Oh, I was there with my boyfriend, or I was there with my girlfriend. That's it, you say that in a conversation, it's clear now. Now it's for the other person to feel that he or she could go and talk and say something. Because some people, by the way, don't know, or don't want to, or they are, you know, the queue of questioning, they don't know. It's not for us to push them in that direction either, okay? Let's not gonna be the tribe, are you part of the tribe or not? So I would say today is easier, and tomorrow will be much easier. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful keynote. I was just listening dedicatedly, every word you said. And you brought in 2 points in your speech. One was individuality, and another was the creativity which it grows. I know at your time there were not a lot of mentors. Now we are good to be sitting here and listening to a few of them, and we could take a lot with us. What were your source of inspiration throughout your career, which made you grow into this leadership style? Because that's really captivating. Like when we listen, we could just associate ourselves with you.
Well, I take inspiration from everything. Today, this is inspiring me a lot. It's giving me a lot of energy. You can see it. I'm almost jumping because I get your energy back. But I come from a small town in Gijón, in Asturias, and in the north of Spain. It was like here, raining all the time, etc. And it was a small place for me. It wasn't big enough. And obviously I was gay, and I was the only gay in the village. For those of you who have seen Little Britain, which today you couldn't see it, which is sad. But yes, I was the only gay in the village, and I didn't know, you know, I needed to see other people like me, and I couldn't find. I didn't know how. So yes, I ended up with the people who were doing the new Vogue and the new romantics and people that you don't know, but you know, like Ultravox, Boy George, and people like that. And I started getting inspiration from art. You know, it was a cultural scene, the artists that inspired me. And when I moved to Madrid, the capital, and it was what is called La Movida in the 80s, in the late 80s for me. And I was a child, well, you know, an adolescent, but the Movida, you know, with Pedro Almodovar and movies, and it was an incredible time in Spain. And Spain had been in a dictatorship before until 1975. So clearly there was like opening up to the world. In that opening up to the world as a country, it also happened to me opening myself up to the world as me, as who I am, which happens to be also a gay person. But that's not all I am. So my inspiration came from other people that I felt they were themselves. I love the people that I saw them, dressed very differently and singing and dancing and incredible art and writers and poets. And I go to these places where I see a lot of weird people, that inspire me because they were being themselves. And I thought, I want to be like them. I want to be myself and feel proud of who I am. And by me feeling proud of who I am, I felt that then my family would also be proud of who I am and my friends would be proud of who I am. And that was very important to me because I had the chip on the shoulder of being gay and feeling that I was less. That's how I felt. So I fought for the opposite. I fought to say, I'm not going to be less than anybody else. Actually, this is going to be my flag. I'm going to be more. I have another dimension that they don't have. Let me use it. But it took me years and years of accepting oneself, which is the most difficult thing for most people, to accept who you are and be that better version of who you are. So I was always inspired, still inspired today by people who want to be who they are, who are themselves out there in the world, and they don't have a care in the world and just be honest to their thing, whether they are an activist or they are somebody, in a work type in a company. It doesn't matter where. I find inspiration in trueness. I find inspiration in honesty. I find inspiration in good people. We all know what our good people are, right? That's what inspires me.
Thank you so much.
There's a question here.
Hello. Thanks very much for the speech. I thought it was particularly inspiring when you were talking about kind of like triumph and disaster and kind of learning from failure and managing it and its transient. I guess I'd be really interested to sort of hear a little bit more about your perspective of that. Looking back on your career, are there any instances where it felt like complete disaster, it felt like failure, but you were able to kind of move on and maybe learn from it and sort of move forwards?
Yeah, very good question. Yes, I have many instances. But if you want an anecdote, I was living in London, working for Diageo. At the time, it was called International Distillers and Vintners. And they promoted me and sent me to Hartford, Connecticut. That was 1996 or 97. And I got there to manage and to create the new customer service operation for all of Americas and hire the people and train the people on the new system, which was SAP, R3, and I was quite good already at technology. And so went there, and there was a boss there. She hated my guts. She hated my guts, and I hated her. I didn't know before that. Of course, what happened? She felt that I was this new kid, very young, in my late 20s, and who is he gonna teach me anything? She was more mature, and she thought that I was like kind of intruding in her world. And I thought, I'm so clever, so good. I was sent here from headquarters, and I know what I know, and you don't know, and I'm here to teach, and so I was full of myself, right? And one day, don't ask me how, maybe I was reading something, I felt, my God, I'm gonna be here a year. It's gonna be miserable. It's gonna be terrible. I felt like, I was going to resign from the company. I felt that's it, I failed. I couldn't do this. That was my first opportunity on going abroad, being promoted. I was an expat sort of thing. Had my first company car, living in Hartford, which is not the best place in the world, but anyway, every weekend I would go to New York. Oh my God, didn't I have a good time in New York City? And one day, I went to her, I rehearsed at home in my mind, and I went to her and I said, whatever the person's name is, this is your company. You are gonna stay here. I'm gonna go back to London. So forgive me, I'm gonna do it your way, however you want to do it. Because it doesn't matter how I want to do it, I'm not gonna stay here. So I'm gonna do it your way. What do you think it happened? We became best friends. We became best friends. We went out and out because that was she needed from me. She needed for me to acknowledge her. I wasn't acknowledging her. I wasn't respecting her because I felt she wasn't respecting me. We both were hurting. That was a terrible failure that I converted into a triumph. I could give you more. But when that happens to you, that person that you don't like at work or even here at university, that person that said, oh my God, she is so hideous, or she's so clever, haha. Take a moment, pause and think, why is that? And it always comes from hurt. You know, maybe a chip on the shoulder, in my case, maybe whatever it is. Just listen to other people and learn from it.
So we do have a question from our Zoom audience. It's from Reno, so thanks for asking a question. I think it's an interesting one. The context is Peter Drucker once famously said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. In that context, how does one recognize a culture, either it's within a company, a nation, or just a group, whether their culture is conducive to people trying to be their authentic selves?
So culture trumps strategy. I can see that. I don't remember that was Peter Drucker who said it, but I believe it. Thank you for the question. I said earlier about how ethical values that you have to be also in the company that you go to, because we were companies as a badge of honor, right? I work for so-and-so company. I feel proud of that. Why, when you say that, why is that? Never, as far as I can see, never is because that company is the richest company in the world. Never is because that company, you know, had the best P&L and the best, you know, benefit or profit. No, it's because they are doing something that you feel proud of. And you feel proud of being part of that company or that brand. That's culture. That company has culture, has created culture that you feel strongly attached to. The strategy could be this and that. If the company doesn't create a culture of where you participate and you feel that this is something that is important to you, the strategy may work for somebody, but it's not going to work for you. Culture, to me, I don't know if it trumps a strategy, because obviously you need a strategy. By the way, you cannot just create a company just by having all nice people and kumbaya. That doesn't work like that, you know. Running companies is very tough, trust me, and I'm sure most of you know. It's a lot of hardship. But if you don't have culture in a company, and by culture I mean a set of values that are shared within the company by their leaders, by their employees, by everybody in the company, and those are shared and reshared with the company, you will not have anything. I remember, still to this day, from 1996, that Diageo, for instance, have that freedom to fail, they call it, or freedom to succeed, which means freedom to fail. That was part of their principles. To this day, I think it still is in the website. And that was, they were living that. They were trying to tell you, don't worry, go and fail, because you're going to succeed, because at least you're trying. That was part of the culture. At TripAdvisor, we have a very strong culture of helping. We have a foundation. We did a lot of things that we all felt proud with. We did work, then we built houses for homeless, and the whole company will go, or people in the company will go and do things like that. And we all felt very proud of, right? At Time Out, I tried with my team to create a culture of inclusion and diversity, which we did, and it was reflected across the company at all levels, from leadership to everywhere. And that was culture. Without it, and in today's world, people don't move on. They move on to another company that they feel closer to. So that's why, to me, culture, like the culture that you create and the culture that equates to who you are as a person, is fundamental. So if it was Peter Drucker, yeah, I agree.
Awesome. Any other questions before we let Julio go?
Whoop. One more there. Okay.
Hi, thank you so much for your speech. I wanted to ask a bit more about your views on what you said about the victimization and not playing the victim card. Because I've seen people or some privileged groups use that argument to dismiss minority groups, because like they say, you know, gay people can marry now in Spain, so what's the big fuss? Why do you still need a ERG in your company, right? So I wanted to understand, how do you strike that balance between acknowledging that historically, even today in many countries, there's still victims of systemic oppression, even hate crimes, etc., but also standing for your rights. But also, how do you strike that balance between also not coming across as playing the victim card, but still?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I wanted to, yeah.
And that's a very good question, because I should have explained probably better. When I say don't use victim as your only card, as your only flag, victimization, precisely because I don't want other groups to say, there they go again, they are always the victims, everybody have to think about these LGBT guys. Since we are in EUROUT, that's what I'm talking about, LGBT. That's what I said, don't be just your only flag. Be very aware and make sure that you advocate and you fight for what is right. But if your life is defined by being the victim, you can see that in social media. Everybody's a victim. By the way, 8 billion people could be victims of something, right? I'm not comparing. If you're in certain countries in the world that just by being gay, they kill you, clearly, that's a very serious and terrible thing that is happening. And let's not talk about Qatar and the football thing. But don't being a victim is a state of mind. I am very well who I am, and I know that I may not have the same standing than other people in life, in maybe this society, just because who I want to go to bed with, right? So I'm aware of that. But I'm also all these other things. I'm a businessman, I'm a thinker, I'm this and that. I have fun. And I can have those two thoughts at the same time in my head without the need for me being a victim, acknowledging there are victims in the world. But we are here, and just by the fact that we're all here, we are privileged people, right? So for us, any of us, to play the victim card, when you are studying at London Business School or other universities, tough. So don't make that a flag, that's what I mean. Don't make, I'm a victim of whatever happens in my life. If I don't make it, it's because I was victimized. That's an excuse, in my opinion. And that's what I want to move that debate from there. Because I see a lot, above all in social media, and I know social media is not life. I know that. But I see a lot of that. And that's what I meant, victimization as a flag, as the only flag. But clearly fight, be an activist, be out there, be out like you're out and say, hey, hold on. I'm a human being with all my defects, with all my virtues, and I respect you, you're going to respect me. But I'm not going to play the victim with you. Is that?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, I think with that, let's give a huge round of applause for Julio.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.